Welcome to Behind the Opinion, where we try to get a little more background and context for our regulars on the show. Today I have Chris on.
Hi, Josh.
So, Chris, why don't we go ahead and just launch into it? What was the first game you can recall playing, and how did that affect your enthusiasm?
Well, one of the very first games I recall playing was a racer called RC Pro-Am on the NES. We got an NES in my family, I think in 88 or 89. I was 6, maybe 7.
Mm-hmm.
And we had Mario Brothers. We had the actual 12-pack Mario Brothers Duck Hunt World Class Track Meet. And my mom got a pinball game, and then they got RC Pro-Am. Mario, as I'm sure as I talked about, it's a very simple game. It teaches you mechanics. You run in, dodge the Goomba, and you keep on going.
Mm-hmm.
I was okay at that, but it was Mario. I like it, but not really anything challenging. But RC Pro-Am I liked because as a little kid, I had my own RC race car set. So I'd be like, oh, I can play a video game version of this. So I tried it. Little 6, 7-year-old me was kind of timid, not really understanding the controls. So I would just hold the B button, or was it the A button? Whatever it was, the button that makes you go. I would just hold that button, and I would ride the wall.
Nice.
Through the first level and the second level. And I would come in like second or third place. And that's good enough. As long as you're not in last, you keep going on.
Nice.
But when you get to the third race, that's not going to work anymore. You will not come in any place but last if you hug the wall. And I think I did this literally every time I played. I'll play for a couple rounds, get to that point and lose. Then I'll go do something else for like weeks. Then one day I told myself, I'm going to come off the wall. So I tried pushing the D-pad button, and I immediately veered off the wall, across the lane, and smack into another wall.
Nice. But you did leave the wall.
Yes, it took me a little while, but as I kept practicing, I got it, and I beat the first race, and I actually came in second place. Next race, I came in first, and it just took off from there. I've never looked back, and now I'm no longer timid to try new things. I'll just give it a shot. If I fail, I'll try again. That's probably the most influential game of all games I've ever played is RC Pro-Am, because it actually taught me to break out my shell and come off the wall.
If that's not a tagline right there, I don't know what it is. They should have put that on RC Pro-Am.
RC Pro-Am, teach you to come off the wall.
Exactly. Now, I doubt that RC Pro-Am influenced your favorite genre of game, but I am curious, what is your favorite genre of game, and why is that your favorite genre?
I do love racing games.
Mm-hmm.
I still do, but my favorite genre far and away is RPGs, role-playing games.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many different games I own. It is the number one genre that I focus on when I come to play a game. I would say the biggest thing about it to me is that RPGs, they tell a story, and it's like an interactive story.
Mm-hmm.
You can go around, you can explore, you can talk to characters, you do the fighting, but as opposed to other games where your end goal is to get the flag or stop the bad guy, RPGs have an overarching narrative. Your characters have depth. There's storylines behind them. There's interactions that occur sometimes in a dungeon or during a fight that you wouldn't get in other games. I really like that aspect. Plus, it helped me to read. I did a lot of reading playing the games, talking the old games like Secret of Mana, Final Fantasy II, SNES, which is Final Fantasy IV, Chrono Trigger, those games. Reading all that, getting these new words, like, I don't know what that word is. Key example was Final Fantasy VI. There's a period in there where Locke is rescuing Celeste, and the game is telling you the background, is setting the stage, and it says that Locke is trying to stymie the efforts of the Empire. I had never seen the word stymie before. So I got out a dictionary and looked it up. I'm like, oh, that's what that means. That's cool. I never would have done that with any other genre. And something like that just stuck with me. And that continues on to this day.
I know the educational aspect of RPGs is something that I hear shared a lot of people in approximately in our age range. And I find that to be fascinating. Now, because of your formative years, you probably were most familiar with turn-based RPGs. Is that continue to be your favorite style of RPG? Because I know there's about 1,000 different kinds of RPG.
Absolutely. And I would say I do enjoy the turn-based system.
Mm-hmm.
I still do. And I believe that despite the fact that the future seems to be going more toward real-time battles and hybridization, there is still a place for turn-based. Key example would be Persona 5. It just came out last year. It's a turn-based RPG, and it got numerous accolades, well-deserved accolades. So yes, turn-based, probably my favorite. I can play others, but it still continues on. As long as it's still something to do, I'll suck it up like a vacuum.
I know Bravely Default was also... Did you play that?
Yes, I played the first one. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It was basically Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
It really was.
The best classic Final Fantasy game you've played in years.
Absolutely. Biggest things about that was, along with the turn-based combat, job class. You could change your jobs. A lot of games have where the character is specialized as their job, as opposed to a pack where you can just put on a new hat and now you're a new character.
So when it comes to RPGs, because I know some people like this, and you mentioned the specialization just now, are you into the hyper-specialization some games do?
Are you talking about like min-maxing?
Min-maxing, or specifically, I know that there are some games that you have to be incredibly geared for very specific fights.
I know when I first started playing RPGs, I was trying to make everyone jack of all trades. I would teach everyone every spell, make sure everybody had access to every piece of equipment, or otherwise was level 99. Key example would be Final Fantasy VI, one of the few games where everybody can learn everything. You can teach everyone else. I used to do that all the time. In fact, I even played the game where Terra is a magic user, but any random battle, she'll just use her sword to attack and be done with it. But now, we're talking 20 plus years later, my style's totally different. I do try to do specialization. Like if I play 6 now, Terra's a mage. She's in the back row. She's slinging spells, and I'm popping tinctures like they're water. In the more newer games, I kind of feel that that's actually expected, that you really can't make everyone a jack of all trades and expect to have the same achievement as if you hyper specialize, where your mage is the awesome battle mage and your warrior is a full-on tank, as opposed to being a paladin who, yeah, I got a sword, but I can also heal everyone.
I know you see that in example Final Fantasy XII, the original version compared to the international version. In the international version, they introduced the job system, sort of, where it basically chopped up the license board, and it's generally considered to be the superior game. Now, I don't believe you've gotten around to 12, the Zodiac Age yet, have you?
I have not yet. It is on my list, and I definitely want to see what they did to the job board, the license board system, because what you just said sounds like one of the issues I had, and would thoroughly enjoy that change.
It is consistently rated one of the stronger changes about it. I recently played through the Zodiac Age myself. The game has aged tremendously. The job system didn't mean much to me, but I'm curious to hear your input on it.
It's on my deck. I hope to get to it this year. I mean, I've got a whole slew of games that are just now coming out that I want to get through, but...
And a family.
No, yes, that's true. I got 3 kids. My oldest is actually starting to play games now. He played Mario and wants to play Fire Emblem with me now.
Aww.
So I'm like, yes, I shall train you. You'll be just like...
The Fire Emblem Warriors?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to get, and I'll veer us back on topic, are you going to get Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition?
I have intentions of getting it. I do own the version on the Wii, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And this version seems to be like, yeah, you played this, but here's a few more things on top of it.
Oh, here's a ton of things. In addition to the Season Pass content, it's also getting all of the 3DS content and all the 3DS content Season Pass stuff and some new content. So if we hadn't beaten the Wii U version to death, we would definitely be picking. I might still consider it, honestly. The game was a lot of fun.
Well, I haven't beaten the Wii U version completely, so...
this is right for the picking for you.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. But with the enthusiasm there, what would you say your favorite game is, and why is that your favorite game?
Oh, that's such a difficult question for me, because I have a core trinity. You ever heard the term where like, oh, I love this thing so much, I want to be buried with it?
Yes.
Yeah, there are 3 games that I have in my official letter of instruction to bury me with these games. Otherwise, give them to next of kin, so on and so forth. I've had to pick one out of Secret of Mana, Final Fantasy VI, Persona 4. That's my trilogy.
Gotta pick
if I had to
one.
pick one, I will say Final Fantasy VI.
Woo, look
Yes,
at you. Did
I
you
know.
have to do some soul searching there? I think I just saw that in your face.
Yes, I did. I've been struggling with that question for a while because I often think about that myself. What is my number one game? What is the favorite one that if I have to tell anybody, you want to get a better understanding of me, a better understanding of the games I love, this is what you got to play? 6 is it.
Fascinating. Now, why? So we're going to discard those other 2. They're into the ether.
We're going to put them in the ether, unfortunately. They're still great games. Visit them. But 6. It is a perfect storm of the age that I was when it came out as a brand new game and influenced me, just like I told you earlier with the story about Locke and learning the word stymie. It influenced me as a reader, to look up new things, to better understand the world I'm playing with. The game itself had a lot of, at the time, unique and mature topics it covered. We're talking about, just get into nitty gritty, it talks about teen pregnancy and suicide. It talks about racism and actually interracial relationships. It talks about what happens if your world is destroyed. Because
literally and figuratively.
Both. And how do you recover from that? One of my favorite sequences in that entire game, World of Ruin. Kefka has taken over the world. He's moved the statue.
Whoa. Spoilers.
The game is 21 to 25 plus years old. This game is old as dirt. If you don't know spoilers, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
World's destroyed. Kefka's on his light of judgment, just frying towns left and right. Quite literally, you walk into one town, light flashes, and suddenly the house is on fire.
Mm-hmm.
But Celeste and Edgar and Sabin, if you got him, because you can skip Sabin, go and meet Setzer and Kolingen. Setzer's at the bar drinking. He's, as well as a 16-bit game in the 90s could tell you, he's drunk because the world is destroyed. And he says, what's worse, I've lost my wings. He's talking about the Blackjack, his original airship. But you read between the lines, it's even more so than that. The wings of freedom, your ability to go and be around the world. The world is destroyed now. What is your purpose? Why don't you just waste away and kill yourself like everybody else did on the solitary island? And you know what happens? Celeste says, you don't like the way the world is? Then do something about it. And that stuck with me. And that stuck with me my entire life. Just one of those rare times where Ted Woosley translated a serious line and kept it serious.
No Woosleyisms here.
No Spoony Bards in this game, but they still have Sons of Submariners. But anyway, that you didn't really see that in games at the time, and even afterwards. Yeah, there are some games that have heavy topics and have meaningful conversations and leave you with a sense of accomplishment and a sense of betterment afterwards. This was the first one for me that gave me that sense. I hadn't even beaten the game yet. I mean, I just got my latest character and a new airship with the Falcon.
Right.
And now I'm ready to go save the world. We can strike back. Kefka may have won the hour, but he has not won the day.
And that was something that I thought was fascinating when I played this the first time, was how significant Kefka ended up being. Because the introduction, he seemed like a comic relief at best.
Absolutely.
And then he committed genocide.
Oh, God. Well, those people of Doma.
That was dark, and it only got way worse.
Cyan is probably the most tragic character in that game, which is really hard to say because there are lots of tragic characters in that game.
Many tragic
but he saw everybody die, including his wife and child. And then he gets to see them again on the Phantom Train.
That Phantom Train scene seriously makes me want to cry right now.
And as an aside, and I'm dating the episode here, Final Fantasy XIV just had new content drop, 4.2. It features a raid, including the Phantom Train and Kefka.
Tell me you can suplex the train.
Oh, God, I wish you could.
Can you really?
I haven't played it yet because I'm playing Monster Hunter. But
God, I hope you can suplex the train.
I am a monk. I'll have to see what happens when I get to it.
Is there... Which version of Kefka is it?
I don't recall because I haven't played the content yet. I only saw the announcement video, and at the end it had the classic...
Dancing Mad theme?
Yes, Dancing Mad theme throughout. Had the classic scene of him with his clown makeup coming through out of the shadows like... It was creepy in a good way, yes. I fully expect to be One Winged Angel version, which pre-Sephiroth, Kefka was a One Winged Angel.
Oh, yeah. Well, wasn't he a six-wing? I thought he was like, what are those called? Gosh. There's actually a Seraph.
But the Seraphim, Cherub, all that fun stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They already featured the statues, too, and it's just like, oh, man, I could talk about this game all damn day.
That's fine.
Yes.
So, yeah, that is a classic choice for a favorite game, and it's very significant to a lot of people, and your enthusiasm is admirable, to say the least. Would you say that one of those things that you listed off were your most significant gaming memory, though?
If I had to stick with that game, yes.
You do not have to stick with that game.
If I could, and this is really more of an overarching feeling I have, there is another game that I have significant memories tied to.
Okay.
And it's a little newer, not much. I mean, it came out in 98 as opposed to 94.
A little newer.
I know,
it's still 20 years ago.
Yeah. It's a little known game. I think myself, maybe one other friend has played it. It's a game called Karsha on the PlayStation 1. It's a tactical RPG. Here we go with RPGs again.
There you go.
Yes. The biggest thing about that game is that it was one of the few games where I felt every character was a three-dimensional character. Not everyone was a one-dimensional pastiche of this trait. You know, you had a plucky hero, but no, the plucky hero has depth. It turns out the choices he made had consequences and he got chastised for it, as opposed to saying, oh, it's okay that you ran off to be with your girlfriend instead of helping us in this battle. No, they said, we needed you. You should have been there. Go sit in the corner. You're not coming with the next mission. But the reason it's a significant memory is a funny piece of dialogue between two of the characters. The two characters are Troy and Boxdale. Troy is your resident encryptor, which is like a mage, and Boxdale is, at this stage, a shrine warrior, but really an inquirer, which is some heavy-duty stuff. This is getting into the context of the game. Okay. For a little bit of understanding, the way to describe an inquirer, they enforce the law, but are not bound to it. I know, how brutal is that? We're like Judge Dredd level here.
Yeah, about to say.
Yeah. So, in this setting, Troy has gotten his hand of some forbidden text. Text is what you use to inscribe on Karsha cards to do your abilities. You can conjure fire to keep yourself warm using Karsha. You could conjure water, earth to plant a field. Or you could do some more forbidden things like instantly kill someone or revive the body. Yes. So Troy has got his hand on some forbidden Karsha, but he's having trouble translating it. And he knows that Boxdale is more than meets the eye. So he takes it to Boxdale and he's like, hey, come take a look at this. And Boxdale says, and I quote, "Don't show me anything kinky." Yes. And then Troy's very next line, "But you like it, right?"
Why is that your most significant gaming memory?
Where else have you ever played a game in your late teens that talks about something being kinky?
I played a few games because back in those times, we, more than a handful of us, were doing the emulator ROM thing. So I can't say that whether or not the fan dubs I played were accurate, but they take...
We're not talking about the H games here, man.
Oh, that's a different thing. Because that's not asking if you think it is. That is,
yes, that is full
asserting.
Yep.
Full on. Couldn't have said it better. Anyways,
but yes.
I can't think of any. So, all right.
Yeah, that was it. We're talking about a piece of text, and out of context, it is a very different conversation between two close friends and some forbidden text.
Some forbidden text.
Crazy.
I do remember in FF2 or 4, depending on how Japanese you want to be about this, there was a developer tavern area. Like you could go through a wall in one of the bars, and one of the guys was reading some magazines that he kind of ferrets away real fast. And I remember as a teenager, I'm like, I want to see those magazines.
Did you ever play FF5?
Yeah, but I didn't enjoy it because it's garbage. Ooh, we had
multiple conversations about this because I know this. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, well, how about this then? There's a library that Bartz goes to, and if you click on it, he says, "All right, Aardvark, here we go." And it cuts off.
Nice.
Yes.
Is that near the end of the game?
It's about 2/3 through. You're in the second world.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after you. Anyways,
yeah.
Neither here nor there.
No,
that game's garbage.
I will fight you to the death. Although I will admit, I did dislike it the first time through, but since then, that game has really grown on me. It is please revisit it.
Yeah, FFs really have an uphill battle with me to get replayed.
This is probably true. So,
and there's so much stuff on deck. I think I have like 20 games to beat right now. Man. And you have 200.
Yeah, backlog is... I don't even want to think about it.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, so why... When I started this endeavor, I wanted to try and get a lot of people with a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of enthusiasm. And one of the first people I thought of was you, because we crossed paths originally at a concert that usually has a lot of gaming-related material involved. Absolutely. And you always had something to say about it. So I'm like, Chris would have something to add. And you always have brought quality material. So tell me, why do you enjoy talking about games?
Oh, just to put it out there, it's one of my biggest hobbies. I mean, this is my thing. Unless I'm working, tending the family, I'm either playing a game, thinking about a game, or have theories about games. And I love to be able to talk with somebody about that. Some folks like to talk about football because they love it and find joy in having discussions and debating with others. Gaming is my football.
Mm-hmm.
So any type of person I can find that has played a game, thought about a game, or even more importantly, know about the music behind the game.
There you go.
I want to be in on that conversation. I have a piece to add, and I want to hear what other people's thoughts are.
Duly noted. Now, here's a question, and we can segue off this real fast because it might be a little too divisive for this particular. Do you ever find yourself when you are going out, because it sounds like the reason you like talking about games mostly is you want to share that enthusiasm with other people.
100%.
Because this is what you're passionate about. Do you ever find yourself pulling back that enthusiasm when talking to people?
Oh, absolutely. Unless I know I'm in a setting about it. Like, for example, we're at a gaming concert. Of course, I'm going to just freely talk about it. But if I'm at another setting and somebody says, oh, you should talk to this person, they played XYZ game, I'm not going to go full ham without getting at least a bit of a feel for their level of depth, because some people can say they're a gamer and they play Candy Crush.
Now, I'm going to actually argue this, all right? Not that I am saying that Candy Crush is akin to Dark Souls 3, because it simply is not.
Give it a mod, it'll be there.
Right. Now I'm more curious about a Dark Souls themed Candy Crush or a Candy Crush themed Dark Souls.
Why not both?
Yeah. Anyways, the people who spend 100 some odd hours playing a Dark Souls game to bring it to perfection compared with the people who spend 100 hours playing Candy Crush, there are totally different kinds of skill involved, but there is dedication behind both of those. I will actually respect somebody more who says that they play Farmville and Candy Crush if they share my enthusiasm for playing games, rather than somebody who plays the exact same things as me but criticizes me for the way I play them. Because I have encountered that where I love this game. What do you love about it? And they're like, well, this was garbage, that was garbage, this was garbage. Like, then why are we talking about this? Whereas there's some people who play these automated clicker game, not automated clicker, but like Pokemon Go, for example. Great example here. Because you'll meet people who are some of the friendliest, most enthusiastic people who will talk to you with earnest enthusiasm about this game. You're like, I don't get into it as much as you do, but you are legit happy about this. Whereas you'll talk to somebody who played, we'll just go with something we were talking about earlier off the episode, Undertale.
Oh, yes.
I, honest to God, loved the game, but when you posted something publicly about it, oh my God, there was so much negativity that I just had to bow out. Because there was so much to be loved about that game, but everybody just nitpicked, and sometimes there was valid criticisms, but other times it was not. They were being so nitpick just little insignificant details.
So would you say that would be the deciding factor? If you're enthusiastic in a positive way, great, let's talk. But if it's in a negative way, you don't want to engage?
It has to be constructive in some way. Because just saying that this sucked, like, that's... And I'm going to segue off this immediately because at some point I will be answering these questions. If you don't have some constructive bit of conversation, let's say you're playing an ice level and you're like, I hate sliding. Okay, that's great that you hate sliding. What would you have done differently? I hate sliding. So would you have preferred a power-up? Would you have preferred some kind of equipment? Would you prefer it to be rebalanced? I hate sliding. Done.
Yep, I'm out.
Right. So that's the difference. Whereas people, if they can talk with the enthusiasm, as you were saying, about, I love Candy Crush because the difficulty levels dynamically adjust based on how well I've done in previous levels. And sometimes, though I could find this to be a bit of unfair adjustment, I won't use terms like rubber banding because people playing Candy Crush probably wouldn't know that.
Exactly.
If they said that the game unfairly adjusts based on the power-ups I currently have, that is an actual valid criticism of the game that can be addressed by the fact that they've given this some thought. Like, no, that game sucks because it's for casuals. Have you seen how people...
Yes, I will admit that I agree with you on that sentiment, but that was not the angle I was going for when I made that comparison.
I know. It's just, I have seen some people do unbelievable things in this. And though I wouldn't call it a hot button for me, even though it's been...
It sounds like a pretty hot button for you, man.
I don't think it's fair. I want to be fair. That's part of why I want anybody on to these episodes, is because as long as you're willing to engage in constructive conversation, come talk about it.
And that's what I do. And that's what I love when I go to these things. When I encounter people who play games and like them as I do, we can have these kind of conversations. Tying back to what I originally said when I made the comparison to Candy Crush, it's because it's not just a game for casuals, but not a lot of people who do that transition over into other games that I am interested in or would think could have a more in-depth discussion about. Not that you can't have a discussion about the difficulty of Candy Crush as you get to level 250, or in my case 314 with a random. Sorry, getting to an aside here. I played a lot of Candy Crush. I do play a lot of mobile gaming. I understand it.
Yeah.
But there are other conversations you can segue with that. But if you don't have that ability to segue, then obviously the conversation is not going to go anywhere.
It isn't going to go much place, and I think especially the game enthusiastic individual, somebody like, this person plays video games, you can talk to them. What do you play? Sports simulators and realistic racing.
Hey man, I like my realistic racer.
I can't relate to you. I know at one point somebody's like, yeah, I play mostly flight sims. I'm like, oh no.
But Microsoft Flight Sim was awesome.
Yeah, when I was like 12, sorry. But
I had to go through a crash in the plane, man.
There is a good segue here. Because of all of that, what is your hope for the future of gaming?
Well, so far, it's my hope for the future is actually becoming true. And that is seeing the appreciation and understanding of gaming as a cultural thing expand. And I mean that it's a case of gaming is no longer viewed as, oh, this is something you do in your mother's basement, or this is something you do with your nerdy friends. People are out there talking about these games, playing these games, sharing these games, talking about their experiences, celebrating the music of the game. You can buy soundtracks to games on iTunes now. I love that. I love that that is where we are going and where we're becoming. And I want to see that to continue and grow. Namely, for me at least, in the music aspect, because I love game music. That's probably what I listen to in the car. Some people may listen to Beyonce, some people may listen to country. I'm like, I haven't heard an Undertale soundtrack lately. Let's pop that in.
Oh, man.
And it is a legit soundtrack. I won't lie. Ever since I beat that game, that's all I've been listening to is the soundtrack.
So good.
Indeed.
So I'm trying to remember because there was actually, since you mention it, I'm trying to find one of the Civilization games actually got a well-known award for its soundtrack. It was years after it came out. But that's the kind of mainstream acceptance I think that you're...
Absolutely.
So, and yeah, that's fascinating, especially with the accessibility of a lot of these musicians.
Absolutely. And that's something else, too. I think it may have mentioned beforehand, either in our previous cast or somewhere, but the accessibility for being able to make games, to interact with developers, actual content creators, and that includes musicians and artists. They're now being discovered through various means. We're talking about people are posting stuff on YouTube, social media, even the music gaming sites like OC Remix and stuff like that. People are being discovered and being able to translate their passion from just a little side project to now composing games. I love that. And the people are getting recognition of that. We're getting awards. You're seeing CDs, you're seeing full soundtracks to games be released on vinyl.
Yeah, I know that. Well,
you just got something, so you ordered something recently, remember?
Oh, it's not just recently. So I have 2 out of the 3 Supergiant game soundtracks on vinyl. I have Undertale on vinyl. I have Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game on vinyl. That one I'm proud of.
Funny story. I didn't like Anamanaguchi when they played at PAX, but I love the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack.
It's so good.
It is. It is legit.
I have both of the Hotline Miami soundtracks, which is nebulously counted because they amalgamated a bunch. I have a lot of game soundtracks on vinyl because I love supporting these artists. So
I don't have them on vinyl because I don't have a turntable, but...
I need to show you these after. They're so gorgeous.
I have no doubt, and I appreciate that. I collect mostly the digital downloads and the CDs, but I have like a shelf just lined with game music CDs.
Nice.
Yes. Like official stuff, and it's great.
So do you have anything else that you would like to add to this?
Just that I love talking about games. I'm so glad you're doing something like this where we can come on and have discussions about games with friends and... get the word out there, let more people know that it's cool to be a gamer.
Yeah, and I could not be more appreciative of your continued enthusiasm and support for this project.
Absolutely, man.
But until next time, Chris, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Josh.
But Until next time, this has been Behind the Opinion with Chris.